Hi there. Today, I want to share a book that's as heartbreaking as it is beautiful. When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. If you've ever found yourself reflecting on life's biggest questions about purpose, meaning, and what truly matters, this book is one you'll never forget. Let's start with a few details. When Breath Becomes Air was published on January 12th, 2016 by Random House. You can find it in hardcover, paperback, Kindle, and audiobook formats. And I have to say, the audiobook, narrated by Sunil Malhotra and Paul's wife, Lucy Kalanithi, adds such a personal touch. The book's reception has been nothing short of extraordinary. On Amazon, it holds an impressive 4.8 out of 5 stars, and on Goodreads, it has a 4.4 average rating. With over 10,000 reviews on Amazon and more than 700,000 ratings on Goodreads, it's clear this memoir has deeply touched readers around the world. And it's easy to understand why. This isn't just a memoir, it's an exploration of what it means to live fully, even as life slips away. Paul Kalanithi was a brilliant neurosurgeon and writer, and at just 36 years old, he was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. When Breath Becomes Air is his story, his journey from doctor to patient, and ultimately a reflection on what makes life meaningful when you're running out of time. I came across some incredibly moving reviews. One reader wrote, "This book is a profound and moving reflection on life, death, and the human condition." Paul shares his experience as both a physician and a patient, offering insights that stay with you long after you've finished reading. Another shared, "When Breath Becomes Air is a powerful reminder of life's fragility and the importance of cherishing every moment." Of course, not everyone experienced the book the same way. A few readers felt that some sections were too medical or technical, and others wished for a deeper dive into Paul's emotional journey. But overall, the honesty and vulnerability he offers are what make this memoir so extraordinary. And then there are the personal stories from readers. One person shared that after finishing When Breath Becomes Air, they completely reevaluated their priorities, spending more intentional time with loved ones. Another found inspiration in Paul's courage and began volunteering at a hospice, gaining a new understanding of life, death, and compassion. Officially, the book is described as Paul's memoir, his path from dedicated neurosurgeon to terminal cancer patient, and his reflections on life, death, and what gives life meaning. But to me, it's even more than that. It's an invitation to ask ourselves, what truly matters when time is short? How do we live when we know life is fragile? When Breath Becomes Air is honest, raw, and deeply human. Paul's words are a gift, one that makes you stop, breathe, and think. And if this review moved you, or if you've enjoyed any of my book reviews, there's a little surprise waiting for you. Head over to yoursecret.net, leave your email, YouTube nickname, and write the title of the book you'd love to receive. Or choose one of our Inspirational Quotes positive wall plaques. Every month, we randomly select the most engaged participants and deliver their prizes right to their doorstep. Don't miss your chance. You'll find the link in the description. There are books that make you think, and then there are books that make you feel in a way you didn't know was possible. When Breath Becomes Air is one of those rare books. In this second part of Paul Kalanithi's memoir, we step deeper into his life of purpose and the incredible balancing act he maintained between medicine, meaning, and mortality. At just 36 years old, Paul, once a promising neurosurgeon poised at the height of his career, is diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And it's in this moment of reckoning that he invites us to reflect alongside him. What makes life meaningful when death is so close? His memoir isn't just about his illness. It's about grappling with identity, with what it means to be alive, and with how we can make sense of it all when the future disappears. Paul's journey begins with a childhood immersed in literature and philosophy, which he studied at Stanford. But his deep intellectual questions about life's purpose eventually lead him to medicine, specifically neurosurgery. For him, it was a way to confront life and death up close and with his own hands. There's something incredibly moving about the way he describes his residency at Stanford. The long nights, the surgeries that demanded impossible precision, and the weight of deciding who lived and who didn't. He writes about one patient, a woman with a malignant brain tumor, and how he realized that even the most skilled surgeon can't always save a life. And then he says something that stayed with me. The tricky part of illness is that as you go through it, your values are constantly changing. That's something I think we can all relate to, even outside of illness. But Paul's world shifts completely the moment he looks at his own CT scans, interpreting them with the same detached precision he once used for his patients. Except this time, it's his body the cancer is ravaging. He writes, "I flipped through the images, the diagnosis obvious. The lungs were matted with innumerable tumors, the spine deformed, a full lobe of the liver obliterated." And just like that, the doctor becomes the patient. Paul leaves us with lines that linger in your heart long after you close the book. "Even if I'm dying, until I actually die, I am still living." You can't ever reach perfection, but you can believe in an asymptote toward which you are ceaselessly striving. Words have a longevity I do not. He knew that he wouldn't live to see his daughter grow up, but his words, his legacy, would remain. And there's something else. In the middle of this struggle, Paul and his wife Lucy find their way back to each other. Their marriage, once strained under the weight of his career, becomes a source of strength. They even choose to have a child, knowing Paul's time is short. He writes about asking Lucy, "Will having a newborn distract from the time we have together?" And her answer, "Don't you think saying goodbye to your child will make your death more painful?" And then she adds, "Wouldn't it be great if it did?" That moment, it's so full of hope and grief and love all at once. And love, all when breath becomes air, isn't just Paul's story. It's a reminder that we are more than the roles we fill, whether that's surgeon, patient, spouse, or parent. It's about finding meaning no matter how much time we have left. As When Breath Becomes Air comes to its final pages, Paul Kalanithi takes us to a place that is deeply personal, profoundly moving, and ultimately filled with grace. In this part of his story, Paul's health declines. He loses strength, his body weakens, and yet his sense of self becomes clearer, his connections deeper. It's as if, in facing death, he finds a deeper meaning in life. He returns to the writers and philosophers who shaped him long before he became a doctor. One of his touchstones is T.S. Eliot's Four Quartets, and especially the line, "At the still point of the turning world." That idea of finding stillness in the middle of chaos weaves through Paul's final reflections. Even as his world spins out of his control, he finds peace in the center of it. And Paul doesn't give up his work easily. He chooses to continue practicing medicine as long as he possibly can, despite his failing body. He performs surgeries, writes scholarly papers, and counsels patients. Not out of denial, but because medicine is a part of who he is. His work becomes a final affirmation of life, a way to continue serving others, even as his own time grows short. But some of the most emotional moments come through his family, especially the birth of his daughter, Katie. Paul knows he won't live to watch her grow up, but he leaves her a letter. And there's one line that made me stop, sit still, and take a deep breath. When you come to one of the many moments in life where you must give an account of yourself, do not, I pray, discount that you filled a dying man's days with a sated joy. A joy that does not hunger for more and more, but rests satisfied. It's the purest kind of love, and such a gentle, beautiful goodbye. Lucy, his wife, writes the epilogue to Paul's story. She describes his final days with clarity and tenderness. She talks about his courage, about how they faced his death together, and about their commitment to sharing his story with the world. It's Lucy's voice that carries you through those last moments, and it's both heartbreaking and full of hope. Here are some of the quotes from Paul that stayed with me. "Death may be a one-time event, but living with terminal illness is a process. There is a moment, a cusp, when the sum of gathered experience is worn down by the details of living. Moral duty has weight, things that have weight have gravity, and gravity warps space-time. Paul's words aren't just poetic. They are raw truths from a man who's come to understand life in a way few of us ever will. And maybe that's why When Breath Becomes Air resonates so deeply. Paul doesn't give us easy answers about life or death. But what he does offer is clarity and a kind of courage. The courage to live fully with purpose and authenticity, even when life is fleeting. Lucy Kalanithi continues to carry his legacy forward through her talks, her advocacy, and her work in healthcare. She reminds us that Paul's story didn't end with him. It continues to spark conversations about how we live and how we die. If Paul's memoir touched you, there are other books that explore these themes with the same honesty and tenderness. Being Mortal by Atul Gawande, a thoughtful exploration of aging, dying, and what matters most. The Bright Hour by Nina Riggs, a heartbreaking yet beautiful memoir by a young mother facing terminal cancer. Tuesdays with Maury by Mitch Albom, lessons on life from a dying professor to his student. The Last Lecture by Randy Pausch, a professor's final words on living your dreams even while facing death. Everything Happens for a Reason, and Other Lies I've Loved by Kate Bowler. A deeply personal reflection on faith and doubt in the face of terminal illness. When Breath Becomes Air is one of those books that changes you. It's a meditation on life, purpose, and death. But more than that, it's a reminder of what it means to live fully. Paul Kalanithi's poetic prose and raw honesty make this memoir unforgettable. If you've ever struggled with loss, uncertainty, or wondered how to make sense of it all, this book will speak to your heart. And maybe it'll give you a little more courage to live your own life with intention. And before we finish, don't forget about the giveaway. Want to receive this book or another one from my reviews? Here's how. Like this video if you enjoyed the review. Comment below with a book you've read or want me to review next. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future reviews. And most importantly, visit yoursecret.net, leave your email, YouTube nickname, and choose your prize. One of 5 books or one of 5 inspirational quotes, positive wall plaques. Every month, we randomly select the most engaged viewers and deliver their prizes right to their doorstep. So, what are you waiting for? Good luck. And while you're hitting that like button, I'll be getting ready to dive into the next book. See you soon.